change is one of the things that holds people back from making decisions, improving on their life, making the corrections that they need to have in order to improve something. And change is one of the things that can, even good change, could be scary. Recently, we decided to purchase a house and change where we live. When you do that, there's things that have to happen. You have to find new doctors, you have to find new places to shop, you have to find your new local coffee shop, you have to, the little things that you take for granted when you're in a constant state of almost complacency, and that change is not relevant. You take these things for granted and then you inject change. When I remember my daughter getting married, and as exciting as that was, it was still change. How would I take her not being in the house anymore and being available and waking up and seeing her face every morning and knowing now that she's going off to live her own life. Was that an exciting thing for her and us? Sure it was, but it was still change. I always like to ask people, when you think of the word change, what do you think of? Instantaneously, I want to know right away without you thinking too long on it, just respond. And there's so many different reactions to that. Some people go excitement, some people go fear, like it's so many different ends of the spectrum. And you have to understand that everybody views change differently. And when you're helping somebody navigate change, you have to navigate it the way they view it. Understand that there is a consistency through change that can be injected here. One is that there's a process. Change is literally a process. It starts with the ending of the old. It's the very first thing that happens. You have to resolve to it's over. It's ended. And there's no going back, right? If you go back, that you really didn't change. Okay? So ending of the old is number one. Number two is you have to know that there's a transitionary period, a time of adjustment. It's a time of sometimes mourning. Sometimes it's a time of fear. Sometimes it's a time of anger, right? We go through change, we experience different emotions. In that transitionary period, the emotions we first start off with is disbelief. We actually look at it and go, no, this can't be, especially when it's fear-based. Second thing after disbelief becomes almost regret starts to set in, and then anger follows very quickly. Somebody's going to get blamed here, right? There's a pointing of finger somewhere. You see it in our political world today. You see it in the corporate world today where people want a point of finger anytime something changed that shouldn't have or prematurely changed. Somebody needs to be held accountable. From that, some people go from that anger to acceptance, right? And once they go into acceptance and they realize, you start to hear the words like, well, it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. We have to find a way forward. And then we release ourselves, our minds into what's next, the next steps. How do we persevere? How do we grow? How do we learn from the mistake, right? And then that's that transitionary period's coming to an end at that point. And then we move into the next step, which is the new normal. And sometimes I have to tell people that when they go through change. I have to look at them and go, you know what? This might just be a new normal, right? I remember my mother-in-law, Diane Robinson, sitting at a kitchen table with me, very similar to this, in 2011, and still dealing with the elements from the change of my body going from being healthy to not healthy. And she looked at me and says, Gary, I think you just need to accept that this might be a new normal. And that was revolutionary to me, because I wasn't willing to let go of the past, willing to go through the transition, because I didn't know the next steps, the future, the hope that there's something that this could end well. And because I could accept the fact that a new normal still looked good, maybe it wasn't the same as the old, it still allowed me to take that process on and move through it properly. So as you go through change today, my challenge to you would be to understand and give credence to the fact that each one of these phases are very important. And you don't want to move too quickly. You need to give it time and give it respect to move each phase properly.